We spend our lives racing the clock. We worry about looming deadlines, mounting bills, and the slow progression of our careers, often feeling as though we are running out of time. Consider a scenario where you wait for a mere 20 minutes, perhaps long enough to listen to a song, and walk out to find that everything you currently stress about has turned to dust. Thousands of years before modern physics explored the curvature of spacetime, ancient Hindu texts detailed this specific experience, framing the terrifying scale of the cosmos through a story of family and duty. The setting is the Satya Yuga, an era when the Earth's atmosphere was untainted. On the western coast of India sat Kusastali, a city of luminous architecture built from materials that glowed even in the absence of the sun. The humans of this age possessed a massive physiology, standing over 30 feet tall. Their bodies were resistant to the diseases we know today, and they lived without the typical physical decline associated with aging. King Kakudmi ruled this capital with wisdom, yet he faced a domestic problem he couldn't solve, finding a husband for his daughter, Revati. Her intellect and presence were so formidable that no earthly prince seemed her equal. When the king organized a gathering of suitors, the warriors of Earth were intimidated. Even the most powerful kings felt diminished standing before Revati, unable to match her spiritual or physical stature. Seeing no options on Earth, Kakudmi decided to physically transport his biological body to a higher dimension to consult the creator, Brahma. A father's mundane anxiety for his daughter's future became the catalyst for a journey into the deep cosmos, a voyage that would eventually shatter his understanding of reality. Kakudmi and Revati boarded a chariot that moved with the speed of thought. They broke through the atmosphere, leaving the Earth behind as they accelerated into the deep silence of space. The ancient accounts describe them witnessing stars burning out and dark mouths in the void, massive pits of shadow that consumed old worlds to clear a path for new creation. This modern image of a black hole's event horizon mirrors those ancient descriptions of celestial voids. The texts suggest that what we now observe with radio telescopes was a physical reality witnessed by these travelers. As they moved further from Earth, the rigid, linear progression of time began to shift. It became fluid, warping under the weight of the higher dimensions they were entering. Physical distance became secondary to temporal displacement. They were descending into a dimension where human logic fails to calculate the passage of years. They eventually reached Brahmaloka. This realm was not lit by a sun, but by a pervasive, chilling light, and the atmosphere consisted of pure consciousness rather than breathable air. Finding the creator busy, Kakudmi waited in the cosmic court while Brahma listened to a mesmerizing performance of Gandharva music. To Kakudmi and Revati, standing in that hall and listening to the celestial melody felt like a brief intermission. According to their biological experience, only 20 minutes had passed. When the music ended, Kakudmi presented his list of suitors. Brahma laughed, explaining that the bloodlines of those princes had been buried for millions of years. This is the reality of time dilation. While 20 minutes passed in the court of Brahma, 27 cycles of 4 ages, totaling millions of Earth years, had flickered by like a camera shutter. By simply waiting for a song to end, Kakudimi had inadvertently allowed his entire civilization, his kingdom, and everyone he had ever known to be erased by the passage of time. Upon returning to Earth, the travelers found a world they didn't recognize. The air was thick with dust, the forests were depleted, and the glittering city of Kushastali was gone, buried under layers of sediment. Their physical presence was now an anomaly. This chart shows the scale. While Kakudimi and Revati remained 35 feet tall, the humans of this new era had shrunk significantly, standing only 8 or 9 feet high. The modern inhabitants were terrified. They saw the king and his daughter not as ancestors, but as giant, threatening entities from another world. The king's original goal, finding a suitor, was now a secondary concern compared to the shock of surviving in a future that had no place for them. They eventually met Balarama, a guardian of this new age. Though he was of divine origin, he was physically a fraction of Revati's size, making any union between them a physical impossibility. Balarama utilized his divine plow to exert a focused downward pressure on Revati. This was a manipulation of her physical mass, forcing her frame to align with the constraints of the current era. Under this force, Revati's massive ancient frame condensed. Her cells and bones were reorganized until she stood at a height that matched the women of the Dwapara Yuga. After seeing his daughters settled in this new world, Kakudme faced a cold reality. His own era was a ghost. Every friend, palace stone, and law he knew had been replaced. He chose to leave society behind, seeking a final clarity here in the silence of the Himalayas. Kakudme's story reminds us that if a million-year empire can vanish during a 20-minute song, our daily anxieties are far more fragile than they seem. When the scale of time is this vast, the only thing that remains is the peace we find in the present.